Some of you guys may already know.
Yo, don't do that. Wait for me to press play, okay? Okay. Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy Johnny Finesse back to you with another video. And today we're watching Robinhood trader commit suicide. What actually happened? I've heard about this on social media a couple months ago. He lost like 700,000. It says so. That's mad, bread. I don't know if he could have got it all back or he just was just in super shock. But whatever the case may be, we about to find out in this video, so let's get into it.
Some of you guys may already know, but a little over a week ago, a guy by the name of Alexander Kearns killed himself because he saw a negative $730,000 balance on his phone on Robinhood. Unfortunately, that balance was not really legitimate, and that's what we're here today to discuss: is what happened.
So he killed himself for no reason. Sheesh.
How did it show him that big of a negative cash balance if it wasn't really that real anyway? And then I also will give some of my opinions on how liable Robinhood should be. Before we get going on the numbers to explain what happened, I just want to read the tweet that Alexander tweeted out probably shortly after he saw the negative cash balance. It says, "How was a 20-year-old with no income able to get assigned almost $1 million worth of leverage?" He continued, "The puts I bought/sold should have canceled out too, but I also have no clue what I was doing out in hindsight." So I know by the fact that he says able to get assigned that he was writing options. And then he continues saying the puts I bought/sold should have canceled out too, which means he's trading put spreads. He was assigned a bunch of put spreads. So let's go through an example where you can get assigned a bunch of put spreads while putting up very little money at risk and still show a massive negative balance. I don't know what his trade history was. I wish I could see what actually happened, but I can replicate a trade where you could potentially be shown that big of a negative cash balance. So we're going to be trading options on SPY. If you don't know what options are, don't know how to trade them, there's a tutorial up in the corner. If you don't know what spreads are, this is going to kind of break your brain a little bit. There's also going to be a tutorial in the corner here in a few seconds that you can click on if you want to learn about them. Spreads are actually one of the safest option strategies.
Listen, y'all. Listen. If you take my advice, you should learn trading. It's a skill that earns you money, literal money. Like, you could play basketball for millions, you could play football for millions, but you could earn stock. You could earn infinite amount of money from stock, but you can also lose a lot of money from stock. It's wishy-washy, so the more intelligent you get from stock, the more money you can make. So don't, if you're going to try stocks, make sure you have all the knowledge as much as you can to where it fully makes percent. So you can fully know what you're doing. Like,
no option strategy is perfectly safe. You're always taking risks, but it is one of the safest strategies out there. So it kind of sucks that this happened while the guy was probably trading some, relatively safe spreads. So let's go through an example that is similar to what happened, or what I suspect happened. So we're trading options on SPY. We are going to open a spread with the expiration of 29th of June, 2020. We were going to buy some puts at the strike of 295. And we were going to sell some puts with the strike of 294. Now, these are real numbers I'm about to show you. I'm not making them up. They're from today, and today is the 29th, so these are options that are expiring today. So the overall cost of this, if we're buying at the asking price, the overall cost is going to be 2 cents in premium, which is $2. And since it's only $2, let's say we want to buy a bunch of these, which we could, and let's say we buy 29 of them. So the overall cost of this trade to get into these 29 debit spreads is going to be 58 bucks. So we forked up only $58. That's it. And with debit spreads, this is a max you can lose. If they all expire worthless, this is a max you could lose. Let's say some time goes on, today the markets close and the spread expires in the money. So let's say SPY is trading at 250. So these are deep in the money. Well, what happens? Well, likely all of your short legs are going to be assigned. So instead of your counterparty just letting these expire worthless, they're going to exercise their right. They have those puts and they're going to exercise their right to sell 100 shares at the strike price. Because they're so deep in the money, they could sell at 294 and buy back at 250 and maybe make a profit or at least prevent the options from expiring worthless. So let's write these options down here again. So these expire in the money, all 29 of them, and we're going to say all 29 of them get assigned. Your counterparty exercises their right to sell 100 shares at the strike price. Well, if they're going to sell 100 shares at the strike price, they have to sell those shares to somebody. It's you. You're going to have to buy those shares at the strike price. You're providing them the ability to exercise their put option. So we're going to be buying, we're going to, this negative shows we're short these options, but we're going to be buying 100 of shares at the strike price for each of these spreads. So all of them are signed. We're buying 100 shares at 294, and we have 29 spreads. So what happens? Well, we are buying 100 shares 29 times. Okay, we have 29 spreads where we're buying 100 shares. So we are going to be long 2,900 shares of SPY. And how much is this going to cost us? Well, we're buying 2,900 shares at the price of 294. So 2,900 times 294 equals, so it's going to equals $852,600. This money is being debited from our account. That means it's being taken from our account and replaced with the shares. We're paying money for these shares. So what happened probably to Alexander, unfortunately, is that this is a number that was displayed. It's this massive negative red number because you're having to fork up all this money to buy these shares, which, I mean, this is amazing because in this example, we only forked up $58 to buy these 29 spreads. And then all of a sudden we're seeing 852,000 in the red. But that's what these options over here are for. They are there to hedge against this risk. So we are going to get assigned, and we're going to see maybe this number. This is probably what happened to him. He saw this number and panicked and jumped to conclusions. But the long legs, his long legs had yet to exercise. So when you're assigned after expiration, these long options are going to exercise automatically. And if you remember with puts, they give us the right to sell 100 shares at a strike price. So that's what your counterparty down here did, is they sold 100 shares at the strike price, and you had to buy them to fulfill that obligation. In this case, we are exercising. We are doing exactly what your counterparty down here did. We're selling 100 shares at the strike price. So we're going to sell 100 shares 29 times, just like before. So we're going to sell 2,900 shares. And what's the math of that? So we're going to sell 2,900. So we'll put a negative there just to keep things make more sense here. So we're going to sell 2,900 at 295. So that's going to be 855,500. Now this money is being credited to our account because we are selling the shares at a certain price. So this money is being credited to our account. So initially we paid a bunch of money to buy these options from the person who is exercising their puts. Now to hedge against this, we are exercising these puts automatically and selling those with a profit. Good example of why. So how is he supposed to know all of this? Well, when you're learning about option strategies, when they involve writing an option, there's typically going to be a formula that will calculate your profit or loss if you get assigned, if your short legs of a strategy get assigned. In this case, that would be width of strikes minus premium paid times 100. So if we run through this really quick, the width between these two strikes is 1 point. So it's going to be 1.00 minus premium paid, which is 2 cents. Times 100. So this would be 98 cents in premium times 100 would bring it to dollars, which would be 98 bucks.
Nah, this is mad math. This is getting
into what happened. I've seen some YouTube videos that are saying, like, I literally heard a guy say something like, because of the difference in the stock price, that's why we think the cash balance was negative $730,000. And that was literally the only explanation he gave. There's a bunch of, I'd say kids, but they're probably my age. I'm a kid. Trying to explain complex situations that they don't understand. And there's nothing more dangerous than someone in a position of authority when it comes to being an educator and not knowing what they're talking about, because they're going to sling around misinformation and cause confusion. It's important to be educated, and it's important to see the math behind it so you can fully understand what happens. So if something like this happens to you, you don't panic and jump to conclusions. Now, how liable should Robinhood be? Well, in my opinion, they should definitely not let this happen again. I mean, if they keep this so when you get assigned it shows that negative cash balance, that's the problem. They don't respond to what happened here. That'd be pretty stupid from an ethical and very much a PR standpoint.
Yeah,
how liable are they letting, how liable should they be for letting this
this
happen in the first place? In my opinion, not that liable. It's like saying because a person didn't know how to trade options, they bought a bunch of puts or whatever and lost all the money they put into it and they went, I didn't know. The Robinhood can't be liable for a person being uninformed and not knowing what happened. If you know how options work and you know how spreads work, you would see that number and you wouldn't even flinch. So in my opinion, this is an unpredictable outcome. And I don't think people shitting on Robinhood, I think, is a little bit unjustified. But they should shit on Robinhood if they continue to let this kind of negative cash balance be displayed on people's UI. Because it is true, there are a lot of young people coming in, moving into Robinhood, a lot more Robinhood users, and the vast majority of those users are young. And young people are less mature, and they're going to interpret information differently than an adult would. So it's not really fair to show a young guy or young girl negative $730,000. Now that this has been brought to their attention, they should fix it, and that should be that. Sucks. It's a horrible thing that happened. Really stinks. So I'm just here to provide some insight into why.
Honestly, about this video got me typed on, trying to make me do math and shit. Like, I understand some of what he's saying because I actually study stocks and stuff, but it's like, bro, I do that on my time. This is YouTube time. This is reacting time. I didn't want to hear all this. I thought I was gonna hear his story and his history of like stuff like that, but you didn't have the history nor the story of him. You just have the statement of him saying he lost the thing, and then you trying to react what you seen. So I feel like this is like fake a finesse and stuff like that, bro.